Hi guys. Yeah, this is another update. I know I had an update with me walking through the hot desert sun, but I wanted to do yet another update where I'm in my slightly air conditioned apartment and maybe thinking more clearly, but maybe not. Anyway, so did also want, because I did make a decision to work on my German, and I made a video in German, just kind of giving you a demonstration of what my output is like in German. I never really was a German, practice speaking German in the past. Basically, I found practicing German to be rather embarrassing because whenever I tried to speak to native speakers, they always replied in English. And it was very discouraging. And even talking, so to have the best experience with people from Germany, I found that I needed to. It was best to just speak in English as opposed to using German. Even though I absolutely wanted to practice my German, it just seemed like they were not. I mean, they were encouraging of it sometimes. I have relatives. They're kind of distant relatives in Germany, like second, third cousins or so. My parents, I've lost touch. But my dad, who back when he was in college, went to Germany for a summer, and actually was they taught him German. At least his aunt did. She was an amazing. I guess she was the first person after the World War II in their village. She was the first person to learn English, and so I get from what I hear. And so she was a very good linguist, and she specifically taught him German, although he had studied it before going over. And so he loved German. That's why I got into German to begin with. And so when I went to visit them, because he kept in touch, they were my cousins were really kind, and they totally taught me German. It was amazing having the experience, learning, being with someone from a different country, like someone who's like totally. You'll probably see this in some videos. I remember specifically one guy talking about Spanish, about how you don't study grammar, just learn from someone else, how someone who does it with a very caring manner and is just very thoughtful and they want to teach you the language is a completely different experience than basically just encountering people in a language exchange, or even on the street, or just or in any kind of other situation. Just people that it's like your family, and they want to provide you with a great experience. And it's just the difference is amazing. I got to spend 2 weeks, I think. It's a while. I don't remember exactly. 2 weeks with them. I had my first real conversation in German because I had been studying all summer at the Goethe Institute before I went there. And I had my first conversation. Your first conversation in a foreign language will blow you away. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters what language it is, or even whatever if it feels like a first authentic conversation to you, then you'll just walk away being like, I did it. That was amazing. That was so cool. And probably want to push it further. Where was I going with this? So I want to get back to German. And God, where was I going with this? So I was watching Robin's YouTube channel. I put a link in the description there, and he's going to be reviving his German. He's had a lot of experience studying foreign languages already. He's a polyglot. I guess he's a Patreon or whatever on YouTube. So some people will donate money because he makes videos that are that useful that they feel like that it's worth donating for. He has a lot of I guess he speaks maybe 8 languages. If you look at his channel, you can find out more about it. YouTube randomly gave me one of his videos, and I kind of was like, hey, this is good. So I gave it the thumbs up, whatever, which I do for almost every video I watch anyway, unless I really don't. I don't know. Even if I don't like it, if I think the person, I tend to like everything. But I liked his videos a lot, and YouTube kept giving me his videos, and now I subscribed, and just a couple weeks ago, he's talked about reviving his German, and he made a video of himself as a reference, and the second video after another week, and he's going to be showing people just his improvement, and what it's like I guess he's a polyglot, whatever, what it's like though to revive a language that you've ignored. I don't know how long he's ignored it. I don't know how good he got. From those couple of videos I saw of him, he mentioned that Well, he wants to read his first book in German. So to me, I'm like, whoa, how good did you get? But he also mentioned that he lived in Germany. He I guess crammed it for 6 weeks, moved there, did some kind of I don't know, job interview or something. I don't, but lived there in Germany. So clearly, reading books was not the focus; it was speaking. So that's probably why he didn't read a book. I'm the complete opposite, where I was, although I did try speaking it as much as possible, and I did go to Germany a couple summers. So I do have speaking practice, but the amount of reading practice I have over the years when I was in the United States is just dwarfs that. It's just the amount of input I have versus my output experience is just huge. So I'm coming at it from a very different perspective, probably. And I've ignored German for a number of years. I was most in studying German most intensely. I think after that experience when I was in college, I went home and I was like, wow, German, I want to learn German. I'm going to speak German. It's going to be so cool. And I love this. I'm going to do something that I thought I could never do. And I was just, so excited. So that was, I think when I was 21 about, and through my mid 20s, probably, I was basically incorporated just German into everything I could, listening to audiobooks, listening to text-to-speech books, listening to Deutsche Welle, which is this broadcast, like a public broadcast type, like PBS type thing, which was actually excellent. They produced lots of content, but they would actually replay shows throughout the week. So I would actually, although I typically don't rewatch or re-listen to things, I would sometimes, because I kept listening to this news radio, it would repeat shows and our broadcasts, and I would get some repetition there, which is needed, I think. But it's a little helpful if someone kind of forces you to do it, because I think the natural inclination is to just keep looking for new material because it's more interesting. Unless you're a complete beginner, in which case you might be looking to reread something you've already read just because you want to see how much better you understand it, and you really enjoy actually understanding it, as opposed to new material where you're just at a complete loss and it's really painful. So I did have all this experience with German in my 20s, and then of course over the years it slowly, although I maintained the interest, it slowly tapered off, and I kind of hit a point where I felt like I wasn't making improvements in the language, but I just liked reading German books, like a fantasy book or whatever in German. I would order it off Amazon or something, ship it from Germany to the US. Gosh, that's expensive. And maybe read a book or two sometimes, or go online, maybe try to download a book, because there's obviously torrenting. There wasn't torrenting then, but you could IRC. There's ways to get ebooks or free books online for sure, in a variety of languages, and German. I would try to get free books in German, but the selection, if you look for free books, you're very limited in what you can find, as opposed to, although you can get lucky, maybe what you want to read is also available online. If you go to Amazon, you can really pick what you want to read, and that's so I did that. So I have all this experience with German, and to a limited extent, Spanish and French. Because picking up a third language does not go faster than your first language. It's just as slow. You just maybe have a routine in place that you can use, but you have to put the same amount of time in. It doesn't change. I didn't get so far with those. I did make some progress, but and then Japanese, of course, at age 34, I decided to study Japanese, and I have this huge German experience in my head. And when I went to study Japanese, of course, it was so hard, and I struggled with it so much. But for some reason, just like German was this thing where I was so into it, somehow, thanks to anime, just watching, going on to Netflix and getting exposed to anime for the first time, I was blown away, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And I self-studied, or just my best, and then eventually took a class at a community college. And as I'm taking the class, of course, I felt like an experienced language study student. And I'm like, I can do this. I can speak this. And it was so frustrating to me. I couldn't speak it. And of course, I had a wonderful class. The teacher I loved the teacher. I loved that my classmates were amazing. And if you can get that, that's the thing about when you join a class, I think it's kind of a gamble. Will you like the teacher? Will you like the other students in the class? Obviously, if you don't, then you can still get something out of it. But if you're really into if you like the people you're with, then that makes it incredibly so much better. We had like after study, study groups once a week. We would get together and just kind of just spend time together talking, and of course studying Japanese, and it was great. But I was so motivated, tried so hard. I think I forgot about this. I could think in German. I would think in German constantly, and like just kind of talk to myself in German. And if you look at my video, I'm like, before I made the video, I was talking to myself in German. It sounds better in my head. When I talk to myself in my head, it sounds better. Clearly, it's bits and pieces. It's not like fully thought when I'm talking to myself. It's just random thoughts. It's not like a full cohesive start to finish video on YouTube. That's completely different. But yeah. So, so I sound better in my head than obviously than I do when I actually speak. But yeah, and but I couldn't do that in Japanese. I forgot about this. I totally wanted to. I think talking to yourself in a language, thinking in the language, is a big part. At least it was for German for me, and it was a big part with Japanese that I couldn't do. And I kind of realized, and also, of course, if I tried to speak Japanese to somebody, it's kind of like you switch off your native language, you go to your foreign language. And my Japanese was weak, and it just went right to German. And I just totally went to German. And even if it was something I knew in Japanese, it's like the German still came first. The German just completely overpowered the Japanese. And so I made this, but I didn't, and like at that point, I'm like, well, German's nice, but I want Japanese. That's all I care about. I made it a conscious decision to cut German out of my life at that point. I'm like, no more German, no more Spanish, even Spanish, which I didn't put much time into. Just nothing, just Japanese, Japanese, Japanese. And I did that for a number of years. There was I guess, very, very brief flirtations with German. I think I did. I signed up for a class a couple years after in German at my community college, but I dropped it. And to prepare for that, I read a book in German, which took me like a day or two because it has the Roman alphabet. Reading your native alphabet is way easier than reading a foreign language. Japanese, Korean, Hangul, I don't care what the script is. Your native script is stronger than than any other script. So reading German was easy. And that was just very brief. So like a month or two, and I was still studying Japanese at the time. So it was kind of like, although I read a book in German, honestly, it was very depressing. I'm like, look what I can do in German, but I can't do in Japanese, was basically how it felt. And so that's another reason why I cut German out of the picture. It doesn't help. It just makes me feel worse. It gets in the way and it makes me feel worse. But then later in Tokyo, of course, I'm living in a share house and there's like 60 to 100 people. So it's this huge share house, like a dormitory, living in college, but it's kind of a different experience that maybe is unique to Tokyo. I don't know, or Japan. But it's definitely, I'd never heard of it in America. And there's about 60% Japanese people and 40% foreigners. It fluctuates. So maybe sometimes less foreigners, more Japanese people. But people from Germany would sometimes come to live. I was there kind of long-term for 2 years, which is less common. More common was people coming for a shorter stay, either for like a couple weeks or a couple months or so. But people were coming in and out, and I would get to sometimes meet people from Germany, and I was like, oh, it's German people. I meet a native speaker of a language that you study. You want to speak it. It's so natural. It's what you want to do. And I haven't I specifically cut it out of my life. So obviously bringing it back was not so good. It was not so good. I mean, I could talk, but it was like their English was always way better. So they're like good, 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 and then but no, yeah, and then of course if I could have a conversation in German with them, but then afterwards go back to studying Japanese, basically not study German to improve myself, to have a better conversation with them. I didn't want to put time into German and take it away from Japanese. I was in Japan, and clearly Japanese was it. It just would be nice though if I meet someone from Germany to spontaneously be able to speak it. Couldn't, well, not, or at least not to a point, unless they couldn't speak English, then that would be one thing, but that didn't happen. Anyway, so that's been like 10 years now, and it's kind of like, I feel like I'd like to, I guess, I feel just so bad about ignoring this really important language in my life for all this time. And now I even stopped studying Japanese, switched to Korean, and I'm still I'm still ignoring German, and because I'm more into Asia. I want to do Korean. I don't want to do. I am more interested in Korean, and but at the same time, and I know that when you study a language, you should give it your all. And that's been my attitude. But I saw this video about reviving the German, and I'm just thinking, you know what? That'd be kind of cool. He's doing a video, probably more videos than I will, speaking German, and I can kind of, do this along with him, and that would make it more fun. Because a lot of time you study a foreign language, it's very solitary, and this is like kind of a unique situation where I can kind of go along with another YouTuber doing something really similar. That's just reviving your own old German. I mean, how often does that happen? Mostly people starting German from scratch is much more common. Yeah. So I'm going to do it. I was initially I was so pumped. I was like, I'm going to ignore Korean for a month, do German for a month, and then go from there. And then I'm like, no, Korean is still my favorite language. I'm excited about German. I want to bring it back, but I'm not ignoring Korean. And so I'm like, okay, maybe 1 hour a day. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Maybe 1 hour a day, specifically though, 1 hour a day in German and the rest in Korean. And the Korean I really want Korean to be 2 hours plus a day. If it's 1 hour a day in Korean during the week and after work when I'm really tired, that's okay. And especially if I go jogging, do German and Korean, if I just get 1 hour of each, if it's a very busy day, then I think that's okay. But the goal would definitely be 2 hours of Korean, 1 hour of German, maybe more than 2 hours of Korean, especially like today is the weekend. Although I'm making these YouTube videos, which is sucking time away from I could be doing immersion. Anyway, so one good thing about Korean though, after I was, just having these thoughts about German, I went to LingQ, and I thought to myself as I'm doing LingQ, gosh, what? It's such a shame that I'm not doing proper sentence mining in LingQ, because the reason why I'm not doing it, well, a couple of reasons. One reason is just simply that getting the sentence out of LingQ and into Anki is enough hassle that I don't want to do it. It's not too terrible. I mean, if you go back like 15 years before, the way I was studying German in the past, with the paper dictionary, etc. Oh my God. Yeah. It's just like, it would be like, would have to do a copy and paste from iPad into notes, and then copy the sentence into notes, then copy it to my computer. And then on my computer, copy it into Anki, then look up the words on my computer again, and then copy the definitions into Anki, and that would be my sentence. So it's doable, but it's enough work that I would rather just take a pre-made list, or which I'm doing from the topic book I got in Japan, and study that instead. But it's just such a shame that I'm not mining Harry Potter. And so I figured out, wait a minute, I could just do screenshots. So I basically highlight the word in LingQ, take a screenshot, then look it up on LingQ, and take a second screenshot. And I guess I could also put this into Anki, but I think it might be a little easier to put it into Flashcards Deluxe, which is another spaced repetition flashcard program that I've used a lot over the years. And the author he's amazing. He's so much nicer than the author of Anki. The author of Anki's okay too. I mean, he still supports over like a long period of time. He still supported this program, which is, I guess I bought it on iOS, so it's not free, but it is also free on the desktop. So that's really amazing that he does that. But if you send like a suggestion or a bug report, I haven't gotten much response on that for him. He does respond. And occasionally he'll give me a good response, but sometimes it's just kind of like, just deal with it. Which, okay, I get it. I can't deal with it. So anyway, but with Flashcards Deluxe, the author, he's kind of like you feel like he has experience just kind of like with customer service and just being, treating people in a really good manner. So he's great. Although you can send him a comment and or a request for improvement, he may just say, look, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that, but he just does it in a way that's really nice. And sometimes he does. He's taken a number of my requests, or a couple of my requests, not a number, and made changes to the app. It takes time. He doesn't just implement it like in the next week or two. It may take a few months, but it happens. And he's, so I'm very partial to that app. I discovered it before I discovered Anki, so many years ago. So I did, last night I did 15 screenshots and copied that into Flashcards Deluxe. And I'm really looking forward to studying them. And I'm looking forward to going into LingQ again and mining, because although I'm retaining vocabulary from doing LingQ, I feel like less that I'm getting vocabulary from reading than I am just getting kind of an overall improvement in my Korean language abilities. But definitely more on the reading as opposed to listening. I'm reading it aloud in my head. So to me, that's a little bit of listening experience, but yeah, it's not like watching TV or listening to an audiobook. It's more reading. And so reading, the hugest thing I think with reading is improving your vocabulary. And so directly doing sentence mining, I just know that's going to have a direct effect on my Harry Potter vocabulary, not my everyday vocabulary. Although sometimes, depending on what words I pick, I think I pick the most interesting words. Those don't tend to be the everyday words. They're the Harry Potter specific vocabulary, like magic wand or beast or monster or I don't know, or scary. Well, scary is kind of everyday. Yeah. But I don't care. If it's repeating in my Harry Potter, then it's definitely a good word that I should be studying. And by putting it into Anki and doing it specifically, it is way better than just encountering it. If I just encounter it, it's just so slow for that to stick. It's not the same. A flashcard is much more powerful to reinforce. So over time, I know that reading and looking it up will get that, but it just takes it's slow. It's really slow. You'll need to read, I'm thinking like literally like 20 to 30 books, I think, in the language. With German or Spanish, I think you'll get the improvements much faster. But with Korean, I think it'll take a lot of books, a lot of exposure. And the flashcards is a good way to speed that up. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's my update. And I know this was a long ramble. I really don't know which is better. If I script it, I like writing it because I post anyway in a forum for language learners. If I script it, then it's so much shorter. But I guess but clearly I'm reading it, and I don't have experience reading. I don't have experience talking either. I suppose I know I'm going to sound better if I, at least more natural if I am speaking. But anyway, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and if you liked it, great, and good luck with your language studies. If you have any comments, I love comments. Please post comments. Thanks.